Morning guys, so I'm just going to film another what I eat in the day today, just because I've had a lot of people asking me to do these because they really enjoy them, and it just gives them a few ideas of what they can make whilst following Slimming World. So I'm going to have a fry up today. I'm just going to show you what I include in my fry up, because it's not just like your traditional fry up. I try to include a lot of like speed food, so that essentially, I know Slimming World isn't calorie counting, but by having a lot of speed food in your meals, it's reducing the high calorie foods, and that's essentially how the plan works. So I'm just having my coffee, and then I will show you what I'm making for breakfast. So this is what I'm having for breakfast in my fry up. I'm going to have 2 pieces of the bacon medallions, 2 of the Sainsbury's Be Good to Yourself Cumberland sausages. They're 1 cent each. I have some scrambled eggs, and then the rest I'm going to have some tinned tomatoes. I prefer the chopped tomatoes, and I'll just stew them on the hob. I'm going to have some mushrooms and some spinach, and that's pretty much it. I prefer to have a bigger breakfast on the weekends, as I only tend to really eat 2 meals on the weekend, and if I have a snack in between, it's just something small like fruit and yogurt. Another little tip of mine is I always now cook my sausages in my Acti fryer. This is by no means saying like go out and buy one, because you can live like perfectly fine without one, but because I do have one, I try to use it as many ways as I can. And with low fat sausages, I find that they can go really quite dry if you cook them in the oven, but since I've been using my Acti fry, I just pop them in there for like 15 minutes and they cook perfectly, and they never come out dry, and it keeps them quite juicy. So yeah, if you do have an Acti fry, I'd really recommend using one to cook your sausages in. So as I say, I literally just put mine in I use the I don't put it on a cook setting, I just put it on for a timer, 15, and then I reduce the heat to like 190, and it works perfectly every time. And when I say I have chopped tomatoes, I don't eat the whole tin, I literally just have about 1/4 of the tin. Yeah, that would be perfect, and a tiny little bit more. And I just stew these on the hob with some chili flakes in there, just because personally I like a little bit of heat, but you don't have to add the chili flakes if you want. So for my scrambled eggs, I literally just cook them on a really low heat. So I've got 2 whisked eggs in there with some chives, some salt, some pepper. I've got the pan nice and hot, turn the heat right down to low, and I'm just going to leave them on there and cook them low and slow and just keep stirring them. So the eggs are done, so literally I've just cooked them for about 3 minutes on really nice low heat. Just keep stirring them, and then I've turned the heat off, and just leave them in the pan so that the residue heat carries on cooking them. And there we have it, breakfast is done. So I've got my sausages, my eggs, my bacon, lots of mushrooms, some spinach, and the tinned tomatoes. They're not burnt, it's just like some parsley that I've put on top after. But yeah, so a nice filling breakfast. So I just had to quickly pop out because I forgot some bits for tonight and tomorrow's dinner in our food shop this week. While I was at the shop, I grabbed myself a Costa, and I just thought I'd say, like, when since I've started Slimming World, I always get like takeaway coffees, so I probably have like 2-3 a week, which I am trying to cut down because of money, but it's never affected my losses. So I always get like a skinny latte, or a skinny latte with sugar-free syrup, or sometimes if I've not used any sins, I'll have like a skinny mocha, and I always count the milk towards my A allowance, so I always get a small or a medium, and today I got a medium because I'm not having any milk or cheese for the rest of the day. And if I was to get a mocha, I would just count like 3 or 4 sins for the chocolate powder and the milk towards my A. And not everybody does things like that, but it's never affected my losses, and it's just something that works for me. And for me, it helps me feel like I'm having a bit of a treat, so I'm not cutting out all the things in my life that I like to enjoy like on a day-to-day basis. So yeah, so I just thought I'd say, like, if you do want to treat yourself to a coffee, or you do like your coffees but you don't get them because you think it's going to affect your losses, for me it's never affected them. And yeah, so I just thought I'd let you know. Oops. So one of the things I got in my food shop this week was the ingredients to make a tomato soup, and I have made this one before, so if any of you are on my Instagram page you would have seen that I've uploaded this recipe before. But I just think it's like a perfect lunch for the weeks, especially in the winter, because it's a nice warming lunch. So yeah, so I'm going to make this today, and it'll be my lunch probably for like Monday, Tuesday, and I'll also freeze some portions. But this year, one of my goals for myself was to just try and eat a little bit less meat. I don't really want to become a vegetarian or a vegan. I just really want to, like, after watching the David Attenborough program documentary at the end of last year, I just want to do my bit. So I'm doing meat-free Mondays, and normally on a Monday for lunch I would have like leftover dinner from Sunday, and it's usually a roast dinner, so it's usually meat. So each week now I'm going to try and make a different sort of vegetarian soup to have on a Monday, so that I don't have to have the leftover roast dinner. So yeah, I'm just going to show you the ingredients that I've got here for my tomato soup. So I use 1 pack of tomatoes on the vine. You can use any tomatoes, I just prefer these. I'm going to use a bunch of basil leaves, 1 courgette, 1 onion, 1 red pepper, and 3 sticks of celery. And then I'm just going to chuck in some lazy garlic. I would normally use a whole tin of tomatoes, but I'm just going to use the leftover from this morning's breakfast. A little splash of balsamic vinegar, some salt, pepper, and then I just pour over enough stock just to cover the veg. I use a mix of chicken and veg stock. And I'm also going to throw in, just because I've got a bit of a leftover chilli from the other night's dinner, so I'm just throwing that in there, but you really don't have to. That's just what I'm doing, just to get rid of any leftovers. And I know I said I'm doing meat-free Monday and I'm using chicken stock. I think that'll be okay, but to me it's still, I'm not actually physically eating meat, so I'm not going to be too worried about the chicken stock in my soup. So to start with, I've just roughly chopped the onion, the red pepper and the chilli, and I've also got some of the garlic there, and I'm going to begin with frying this lot off until it's all soft, and then whilst I'm waiting for that to go to cook, I'm just going to carry on and chop the rest of the veg here. So the onions and peppers are all nice and soft now, so I'm literally just going to add in the rest of this chopped veg. Give it a good stir. Some salt and pepper. Another good stir before you add in the stock and the chopped tomatoes. And then good glug of balsamic. I don't measure, I literally just pour. And then in go the chopped tomatoes and the stock. So here I've got about 600 ml of stock, but I'm not going to pour it all in straight away. I'm just going to pour a bit. I want to give it a good stir. Needs just a little bit more stock, and then I'm just going to leave the rest of this to one side, because whilst I leave the this to simmer on the hob, when I come back to check it in a little bit, it might need some more, it might not. But yes, that's literally it now. I'm just going to pop the lid on, let this come to a boil, and then leave it for about 15 minutes, and then I'll check it again. And in total I cook it for about 25 minutes. So the soup has been on for about 10 minutes now, so I'm literally just going to give it a good little stir. As you can see, it's all bubbling away really nicely. Yeah, it's looking good. It smells amazing too. And then I'm going to leave this for like another 10 minutes. And once it's done, I just blitz mine in my NutriBullet, because I don't have like a bigger food processor. So I just do it in 2 batches. So I pour half in there, blitz all that up, and then pour the other half in and blitz that up, and then mix it all together and just store it in some like Tupperware tubs. So the soup is done now, like literally all the veg is nice and soft, so I'm just going to leave this to cool down for a bit and then blitz it in my NutriBullet. So I've split the soup into 2 batches. This is just how I do it. So this one's going to get blitzed first, and then I've just poured the other bit, the other half in a jug, just so that I've got like an even amount of like liquid to like veg, because I don't want it to like one side to be more liquid when I blitz it, because otherwise it won't be the same consistency. There we go, the soup is all done and blitzed. So I'm literally just going to leave this to cool right down on the side with the lid on, and then I'll pop it in the fridge and some portions in the freezer. So I'm just going to prep tonight's dinner, but I just thought I'd quickly point out I don't normally spend my whole weekend cooking, just because we're in lockdown at the moment with nothing else to do. I just like to keep myself busy rather than just sitting down and watching TV all day. So I'm literally I'm having like a Hawaiian pineapple chicken for dinner tonight. So I'm just prepping the chicken to leave that to marinate, ready for when I cook it later. So I've literally just got some diced chicken thighs in here. I'm going to put a splash of this Hawaiian rice wine over it and some salt, and just leave that to marinate, ready for later. And I've also prepped the sauce for tonight's dinner. This is literally 200 mils of this this fizzy drink from Sainsbury's. It's a pineapple and grapefruit crush. The reason I use that instead of pineapple juice is because it's sin-free. I've also got a tablespoon of sweetener, 2 tablespoons of the rice wine, 1 tablespoon of white rice vinegar, 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, 100 mils of chicken stock. So I just used the leftover stock from today's soup, and a tablespoon of corn flour, and I've literally just like got that all mixed in there, ready to add to the chicken once it's cooked later. So I'm just about to cook the chicken for dinner. Pan's nice and hot over there, but before I cook it, I'm just going to sprinkle over a couple of tablespoons of corn flour and give it a good stir, and then add the chicken to the pan. Also, I've prepped my veg now. We've got 1 diced onion and half a diced red pepper and half a diced orange pepper. I'm just going to leave that until the chicken's cooked. So the chicken's all coated, and I'm literally going to add it to the pan, but make sure I leave it before I move it around. So I leave it for about 4 minutes before I turn it over to the other side, because I really want the sides to crisp up and go all nice. Easier to do the chicken in batches, so that the pan it doesn't get overcrowded. So once I've done that, I'm just going to then set it on a plate to one side. So as I said, I'm cooking the chicken in batches, but like it's all nice and crispy, so that's the best way to do it. So you really want to leave it and not touch it until you're ready to turn it over to the other side. Also, I'm serving the chicken in like pineapple bowls, and I'm going to use some of the inside of the pineapple in like the stir fry saucy mix. So yeah, it should be nice. It'll be like a nice like sweet and sticky dinner. All the chicken's done now, so I'm just going to add the pineapple to the pan first. And now I'm just going to pour over all of the sauce. And I want that to just bubble away and get nice and thick before I add the chicken back to the pan. Now that the sauce is all thick and sticky, I'm going to pour the chicken back in and then just leave it for like 3 to 5 minutes, just so that the chicken warms back through. That's what the chicken should look like once it's all coated in the sauce.